This is Professor Raymond Noble, Department of Ancient History, log entry number 2. I believe I am moving to distant past.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Well, sometimes that is better.
I like to dissect girls, if you know I'm utterly insane.
Have you checked the children?
Michael!
Beware the stare of Mary Shaw.
Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
I myself am strange and unusual.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
I just can't take no pleasure in killing.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
You want to know what happens to an eyeball when it gets punctured?
The juice is loose.
Unpleasant dream.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Terror Talks. This is our 20th episode of Season 4. Whoop, whoop. Yeah. And how fitting that on the 20th episode, this is probably one of our most special episodes to date, actually, as it entails not one, not two, but 3 haunted attractions. The most we've ever done on one episode. And
not true. We did one where we did 4.
Oh, that's true. Okay, fine. Not the most we've ever done on one episode.
But the most we've ever done in a single episode that has been owned by the same company.
Yes, same company owns it. And this is also the furthest we have gone for haunts, because technically we drove a total, by the end of it, 10 hours away to experience these 3 attractions.
And that's just road time, and not even counting, like, driving around in these different states and different towns to different haunts that are in the same state.
Yes. So if you've been keeping up with us, which I guess we didn't say a whole lot about it as we did it, we just had an epic haunt road trip this past weekend as of the night of recording this. And coincidentally, this episode's going to come out on Halloween, too, so how about that? But as of this past weekend, we had an epic haunt road trip where we traveled all the way from Augusta, Georgia, all the way up into Chattanooga, and then up and through Nashville, went up through Kentucky and Illinois, and then all that led us to St. Louis, Missouri was the big ticket goal at the end of this. For really, it started off as one special haunt, became 2, and then we realized there was a way to do all 3. And so it was like, you know what, this is too good of an opportunity to pass up. And so we're like, you know what, let's go for it. Like, we are down with this. It's going to be so much fun.
Also, side note, one little interesting piece of semi-irrelevant information that I just wanted to mention. So we have a friend who apparently helps out at one of these haunts.
We will not say who.
We won't say who, but if you know, you know.
Yeah.
And she would be the only other person to know out of the 3 of us. So, that being said, shout out to you, girl. We're not going to tell anybody your name because we are not about to get you in trouble.
Correct.
But, shout out to you. Anyway, beside the point of relevant.
Yeah, you know who you is. So, 3 haunted attractions, all owned by the same company, all in one area in the same state of Missouri. 2 of them right there in St. Louis, and then the other one is up the road just a little ways, just kind of outside of St. Louis, but still, I guess we sort of consider it in the same vein and whatnot, but it is out there. So, we're going to talk about it. We're going to start off with the Lemp Brewery Haunted House, because that's where we began our journey this evening. And this haunt was built inside of a brewery, the literal Lemp Brewery. And it says, the all-new Lemp Brewery Haunted House is ready to make you scream. Lemp Haunted House is back in 2024. Now celebrate our 31st year of fear at Lemp, St. Louis's only real haunted house. Come face to face with demons, confusing mazes inside a pitch-black cavern of the occult. Lemp Brewery is the most famous haunted place in America. Prepare to go into the abyss to scream. Are you ready for St. Louis's only real haunted house? Bring your friends and scream together. The Lemp is 1 mile from the darkness. And then they do say consider a combo ticket, which we'll talk about that. We got a really good deal on their combo offering. So we did not know that Lemp Brewery was actually haunted going into it. So that might be something we might need to potentially work out in the future for some of our paranormal stuff we do.
Yeah, we're still working out the kinks on that, but you guys may get to see us do some ghost hunting and watch Ainsley do some witchy shit. That being said, so the funniest thing happened while we were in St. Louis. Jeremy had told me about these other 2 haunts that we were going to, and I was like, you mean 3? Now, mind you, I don't do any of the planning. I am strictly the vibes and the camera woman and, the cute co-host, whatever. I don't do any of the planning. He did not tell me that we were going to 3. In fact, we set out to go up there for 2 haunted houses, and apparently as he was looking this up, I said, do you mean 3? And I guess you wouldn't know because I really didn't know. St. Louis is big on their brewery companies, and my dad has a collection of like vintage beer bottles. And so I was taking pictures and everything, and oh, look at this one, oh, look at that one. And he said that about the haunted houses. I was like, do you mean 3? And then immediately said, and the Lemp Brewer Company. Did not even know that they had a haunted house. Did not know that he was looking it up. It was just one of those weird, like, intuition kind of things.
Yeah, I did not tell her, like, the names of them. Like, I was just like, yeah, we're going to St. Louis. And that was, that was it. Like, we rolled with it from there. And lo and behold, it was like, oh my God, cool. And so she figured that one out, and it was like, oh, that was a little spooky wookie.
Yeah, and we kind of just looked at each other for a minute like, did that just happen?
I was like, yeah, that just happened. And then we moved on. We're like, okay,
yeah, moving on. We're not
creepy.
Talking about it.
We don't claim this energy. So that was a really neat thing. So Lemp Brewery. We're, like I said, these 3 haunts, really these 3 are kind of, the best way to put it is almost like going to Netherworld, but in
separate pieces of the city.
Yep, and it's the Netherworld of Missouri. And so really there's no negatives.
Well, one of them is.
One of them is like strictly like the Netherworld of that area. And then the other 2 are sort of side attractions, all still having a lot of the same aspects of them. But the point to make is that in terms of the actors we encountered, actually, you know what? I can be picky on Lemp. We did have some issues that I caught in Lemp. So I'll just dive right into them, and you can chime in if we'll try to run. This is probably the one that we'll spend the most time giving any negatives about. So one of my things with Lemp, I was not overly impressed with some of the set design. I mean, the set design was good, but like the layout of it, you could tell it was like somebody took like black curtains and hung them up into the form and fashion of a haunted house.
And then kind of blocked it from there.
Yes. And I mean, not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that. It just was not my favorite thing to see. Like, I would have liked a little, like, because when you get into these other haunts that we're going to talk about, you see these really elaborate walls that are built up to take you from room to room. And so it sort of kills it a little bit for me. This being the first one, it almost seemed like a pop-up haunt. It seemed like one that maybe traveled on the road and they said, hey, we're here at Lemp Brewery this week. Let's sort of plop it down here and run with it. That was just my feeling on it. It may not be that way. I'd like to see a little bit more. And I get it. It's a
working beer company.
Right. Now, that area that they're in might be abandoned and they might not do anything with it during the off season other than build, but I'd like to just see a little bit more with it. It was very much evident that the only thing you were going to go through in this haunt or was like the brewery itself, because we just kept coming upon barrels and barrels and like brewery type items, which fits the vibe. I mean, that's where we are, but it was like, most haunts we've been to, they create a different environment of like, you don't go to this warehouse and then everything looks like a warehouse. You're going to go into an asylum and a swamp and this and that. Here it was like very much, we're a brewery. You're going through the brewery.
Yeah, and the thing was, even though the haunt is the Lemp Brewery Company Haunted House, and that is the name, it's not supposed to be themed like that. Like, even like reading about it, it does not give you any hints that, hey, it is going to be like a brewery that has been taken over by monsters. It's not, that's not the theming. Like, they talk about all these demons and stuff.
Right.
So I'm confused. Are we like, are did we just walk into like a monster bar and like all of the monsters are, you know, hanging around these kegs and stuff and only scaring us because we interrupted their drinking?
Yeah, it didn't really make sense to
Yeah.
me. That was one thing I didn't care for. We did have a couple. At least there was one monster that I remember that specifically kind of broke character. Granted, given the circumstances, I understand he was trying to like. We ran into a problem going through where there was a group ahead of us that basically they started freaking out. One of their group, I think, had like a full-on panic attack and like could not get through the
She was having
haunts.
an anxiety attack, and you know, I feel for her because I know that's awful, and I'm not gonna hold the character breaking against that actor.
But when he passed by us, he wasn't like dealing with that anymore. He was heading back to his spot, and he was just kind of like, "Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me."
No, because they were leading her backwards through the hunt. So either he was like getting her to take her out, or he was coming to find her to like be like, "Hey, you got to go back this way because it's the quickest way," or something like that. I don't think he was actually, dealing, like, I don't think he wasn't dealing with that, because as he like went by, he let another actor know, "Hey, she's having an anxiety attack, try to stall," basically.
Yeah.
So, and they were like, they did what they were supposed to do. They kept us going through because we were no longer like in danger of, being pulled out of the scene because of an emergency. And like, you after that like little moment, it was business as usual. Like, there was no us stopped in a hallway for like ever waiting on this, emergency to be taken care of or anything. It was very like cut and dry. Like, we saw the girl with her hoodie over her head, and then this actor come through, break character to, to help deal with this emergency and get this girl help. Which, props to you guys. We love to see haunts that take care of their customers. And we hope that young lady is feeling better. And we hope that, whatever happened, that you feel better about it now.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we are not, shaming her for that. I was more on the actor about what he was doing.
Well, he was dealing with something, so I'm personally not going to take that, like, I'm not going to take anything from him from that. Because obviously something was going on that needed to be taken care of, like, ASAP, because anxiety attacks are a bitch.
True.
And not like a whiny bitch. Like, I'm talking about, like, they fucking suck.
Yeah. So, I mean, who knows what exactly the whole situation was at that moment. It was just one of those things that, you noticed. So yeah. So moving on,
one thing I did want to say, since you have brought up um, the set design and props and stuff. As you're coming into this area, and we will have pictures of it on our socials, as soon as Ansley gets her button gear and takes care of these pictures. Um, but there is these two really cool statues out front, and they're props, and they're supposed to be like these, I guess, stone guardians. And I did do some work on the pictures, so it's not as noticeable. But they were very dilapidated.
yeah.
And not in a, like, oh, they're made to look like that to make them creepy kind of way. Like, as in we don't really take care of them. We just kind of throw them into a storage unit when we're not using them and just bring them out haphazardly kind of way.
Right. Yeah, it was kind of strange.
Yeah, and those weren't like the first props I noticed like that, because there was some animatronics that were a little worse for wear.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But considering that this is the, shall we say, overflow haunt of the three, that's the only terminology I can think of, because the other two are really, really big attractions, and this one's a lot smaller. These two big ones are open, like pretty much all spooky season.
This one is only open on select nights.
Yeah. So I get the feeling that it's more of a overflow haunt where you want to go and see this company. Maybe it's a little bit of extra money in their pockets, whatever it may be. And maybe these are animatronics and props and like set pieces that have been used in the other two haunts in past years, and they're just trying to get some more use out of them or something. I do get like a very like prominent feeling that this is just kind of an overflow haunt.
Yeah, that's definitely what it feels like, because it's literally only open in October. Like, literally, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 nights. Like, those are the only nights you're gonna get to go to Lemp. So that is kind of sad, but at the same time, this is the one that they don't, I feel, put as much love into.
You can tell they still love it. It's just one of those,
like, what can we throw in here to get a little extra, maybe pull some people away from the other two haunts to sort of disperse the crowds.
So
yeah, it definitely feels that way. One thing I do want to point out, and this is actually going to apply for all three haunts, Lemp, Darkness, and Creepyworld, which you didn't even know that the other two, we were talking about them yet, but we are talking about them. One of the things that threw me when we got there and actually looking online and when we got our tickets was they have the big warning sign that gives you all your attraction rules and whatnot. And on all of the warning signs, plus the one that is sent to your phone, the one online looks a little different and it doesn't look like it has it on there, but all of the signs in person said that you were not allowed to film, you cannot take pictures, anything like that inside these haunts. And that was what was sent to our phone as well. However, if you go into their facts and questions on their website, there is a whole section that mentions filming and photography and things, and they said go for it, you just cannot use flash. Like, that's the only thing. But they said take as many pictures and videos as you want without flash, have at it, have a great time.
Yeah, so, kind of some mixed emotions, sir.
What do you mean?
Well, because, like, if you're going to tell me one thing on this, then, okay, I'm good with that. But then turning around and telling me something completely different in another area kind of throws you off, and you're just kind of like, well, I was okay with it, but now I don't know what to think.
Yeah. And it could be a case of, maybe, like, they I don't know how exactly it works in the haunt industry, and if somebody wants to reach out and let us know, I'd love to hear about it. It might be a case of, oh, we buy this sign, it's like almost a template that this certain haunt manufacturer makes, because it's all part of this thing called Haunt World. And Haunt World might make the sign that just says like, hey, these are your basic rules for going through a haunt. And that might be like why it defaults to saying no photography, videotaping. I'm actually going on Haunt World's website right now to verify that, because they do have a website with different things and such. Oh wow, they're actually a really cool website. We should we can build a haunt. We're gonna build one soon. No, we're just kidding. We're just kidding.
We ain't got the money for that, guys. Y'all don't get it on Terror Talk's house yet.
One day.
Could you imagine we just open one and all the actors are just us? Either us working it and just running room to room, or all of the actors are just us in costume.
That would be pretty awesome. So it seems like Haunted, this website, it's a whole thing. Do your research. Hauntworld.com does a lot of interesting things that we'll have to check out at some point. But that's like the overarching company is Hauntworld.com. So they're a big deal in the haunt industry. Anyways, moving on. So yeah, Lemp Brewery. I keep wanting to say Lemp River. It's not Lemp River. Lemp Brewery Haunted House. There's not really, for me, a whole lot to say about it. It was decent. It was a fairly decent length, I feel like. What was it, maybe 15 minutes, I think?
Yeah.
It was definitely the shorter of
Some of that was the stairs, though.
Yeah, there are a lot of stairs you have to go in, because you literally do go underground.
But, St. Louis, it is a, like a very hilly town. Place. It is, to me, it is very much like what you see about New York in movies. Like, I cannot speak for New York because I've never actually been to New York. But it gave me, like, New York in movies vibes. Very hilly, very, like, everything is tall, so there's gonna be a lot of stairs and this, that, and the other. So, it makes sense. And you do get to go down this absolutely beautiful spiral staircase.
Which you'll see that in the video.
It felt so magical to be able to go down that thing. But, beside the point, irrelevant, Ansley's, like, Princess Ansley vibes aside.
I don't know why that was funny. It just was. Anyways.
I am a fucking princess.
Yeah. So, anywhoosies, the only other negative I had about Lemp Brewery was at the very end of the haunt, you come up and there's a dude sitting there, and they have a little booth behind him with, like, t-shirts and stuff. And he's like, oh, you have to buy t-shirts at the ticket booth.
Yeah, like, it was very strange, because it's not like we came at the end of the night or anything. Like, that was the first haunt we hit, and the sun was going down just as we were getting there, so we were very early for this haunt.
Oh, we were there at opening. Like, we opened the place.
So, and I just kind of look over and casually mention, hey, they have t-shirts. And this guy's like, oh, well, you gotta go to, the... Help me out here.
You have to go back to the ticket booth to get them.
Alright, and another thing I'm gonna say, because I feel like this needs mentioning, you were joking around saying the Lemp River Brewery, and in some parts of this haunt that was true, because the floors are like an inch of water. So, like, try not to wear good shoes if you go out here.
Yeah.
Because I was so scared I was going to ruin my shoes. Like, not that they're expensive or anything, but, like, those were the shoes I had for the night, and I really did not want to be walking around in soggy shoes. So I was really worried about that. Like I said, basically, in some areas, there's, like, an inch of water on the floor. So, kind of a slip risk, so please, like, wear shoes with traction and just be mindful. Um, Mindful of not only your footwork walking through there, but also the shoes you're going to wear. Because I know a lot of people nowadays really love sneakers and take really good care of them and this, that, and the other. That being said, you don't want your really nice sneakers to get ruined.
Yeah. But, alright. Enough about disclaimers and things. I think that's really all there is to talk about Lemp Brewery. So, we're going to rate this one. I'm going to give it a solid 4.5.
No, I was going to give it a 4.
Oh, wow. Why?
Because, I mean, it was a haunt, and that's all you could really say about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give it a 4.5. You give it a 4. Whatever. So that means Lemp Brewery is going to be a grand total of, drum roll please, 4 screams. Lemp Brewery Haunted House is a 4 screams rated haunted attraction as rated by our Terror Talk Scream Scale. But don't take our word for it. Go check it out for yourself. You got a little bit of time left that you can see it. They are going to be open this evening, Halloween, and November 1st and 2nd from 7 to 10 p.m. Tonight they'll be open till 10:30 p.m. as of the night of recording this. But if you don't get to check them out for their Halloween event, they also have a Christmas event that they're going to do on December 13th from 6:30 to 9:30, and that's going to be Krampus's Lair. And then they're going to do My Bloody Valentine on the 14th from 6:30 to 9:30. So be sure to go check out Lemp Brewery Haunted House. And yeah, let us know what you think of it. If you agree with us, disagree with us, we invite you to. So now we're going to venture a little further into the city of St. Louis, and we're going to visit I call it the flagship haunt, because I believe this is what started it all, and that is called The Darkness. Are you ready to experience the best haunted house in America? How deep into the depths of the darkness can you take before your next step is your last? The all-new Darkness Haunted House, located in Sollard off South Broadway in downtown St. Louis, Missouri, rated as America's best haunted house. Missouri haunted houses have become known for Halloween, and none more than the king of Scream, the Darkness Haunted House. In 2024, the Darkness Haunted House celebrates its 31st year of fear. Prepare to scream. So we didn't even know that, but 31st year of fear, 31 Halloween, perfect, right? I mean,
that, and we're hitting 31 haunts this year.
We are.
Possibly a couple bonus ones, but more on that later.
Yeah, so could this potentially be like a sign then that we, got to actually hit this? I will say this has been a bucket list attraction for me for a long time, because this is a haunt that has been featured on the Travel Channel and all of those, like, television specials about Halloween. It's been on Mythbusters, Modern Marvels, Travel Channel, Discovery Channel, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, National Geographic, Shipping Wars, and HauntWorld.com, obviously. It is one that has always been near and dear to my heart. It sort of resided right there with Netherworld. Granted, I went to Netherworld first. The best way I can put this is St. Louis's Netherworld. It really has that vibe, and you are in a 2-story warehouse, and you would never know that you're in a warehouse at all.
Well, until you hit the stairs.
Yeah, I'm about to say, that'd be the only dead giveaway, but, like, apart from that, there is literally nothing in this haunt to give away. Like, if you know what you're looking for, yes. And I could be nitpicky and be like, well, when I got upstairs, I was able to see through up into the actual, like, crawl space area, and I could see where lights were. I'm not going to be that picky, because it's so well camouflaged,
but
you would never know.
Even saying that, they actually, in some parts, they made that part of the scene.
Yes.
Like, I'm not going to say too much, but there's a very industrial area, and they had, like, zombies and stuff hanging from the roof.
Right. So they play with it very nicely. In terms of set work, this is like Hollywood level set. Like, this is as good as it gets at this point. You're not going to see anything any better than this because it is so intricate, it's so well done. I think the way I described it, well, I know I said it's the St. Louis's Netherworld. It is that, but it's like a claustrophobic version of Netherworld. Because Netherworld, a lot of people know it, you sort of get into these moments where you're kind of out in the open, you can see what's coming up ahead in certain aspects of it. This one, you don't know what's coming up ahead. You're kept guessing every step of the way. No, you really couldn't see what was coming up.
There was like a very, very few, but there was a couple of areas that were more out in the open, which I don't mind because I'm not a huge fan of when my elbows or hips or shoulders are touching both walls at the same time.
Yeah. Well, for me, I didn't notice it. Maybe Ansley happened to spot it, but I personally did not. So we will agree to disagree on this one.
Well, there is a room, and you'll know what I'm talking about, that is very themed like one of the big rooms that you're talking about from Netherworld.
Yes.
So that was one of the areas.
Well, I must have missed it because I am not registering it in my head. But some really cool things in there, some things we haven't seen. We saw Greek mythology in this house.
I love Greek mythology. Excuse my wording, I am a slut for Greek mythology.
Yeah,
and please don't cut that to just, be, yeah, like.
Anyways, what was that?
I don't know, I'm fucking tired.
Like, you got to see Medusa and all of the people turned to stone. It was a really cool thing. That was something we haven't really seen before.
And that being said, Jeremy said that there was people turned to stone. So it's not like how you would like go into maybe a cemetery or something and see like people carved out of stone. It was like you would imagine that somebody who had just turned into stone would look like. Like, each and every hair on their face was like individual. It wasn't like clumps of hair carved out. Like, very, very close attention to detail.
Yeah, you can tell that there's a lot of love that goes into this haunt, and they are very meticulous about like what all they do. So good on them for that. I think my only gripe with this haunt, and I say it all the time when I see it, clowns, 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 clowns.
But again, you're gonna have to get over that.
I'm aware, but I am just over the clowns, and I'm also over the typical gimmick of 3D in a haunt.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything for me.
Wasn't vibing with that. And something I also noticed that I have said I'm not a huge fan of in the past is getting those cardboard glasses.
Yeah.
Because number one, they don't fit on your face correctly. They are very cost effective. But you also had to return them at the end. So that makes me wonder if they don't, like, reuse them. Which, is gross.
Yeah, that is a little weird and strange. I mean, I feel like
you can't really disinfect cardboard, and cardboard is very, very porous. So any dirt, grease, makeup, oil, sweat, anything on somebody else's face gets trapped in those little pores, and then it's on your face.
Yeah.
And then you're adding your dirt, grease, makeup, whatever, onto it for the next person.
Yeah, so it's not a great thing. We don't love that. And like I said, 3D is such a gimmick that's just been overused at this point.
And it is cool, if, it's not overused.
Right.
Like, we have seen it done effectively. I'm not a huge fan of it because, like, number one, I get kind of dizzy where those are concerned. Like, you put on the glasses and everything, and I know it's supposed to disorient you and be like, oh, cool, so that it sets you up for a jump scare because you're paying more attention to the, like, artwork popping out at you from the walls. But, like, the effect gets really, really lost when I am way too dizzy to even pay attention to what's going on. And a lot of times, I just have to go without the 3D glasses because I'm like, I can't really take this anymore.
Yeah, and I don't have that necessarily, that problem, but it just, because the glasses keep falling off, it makes it not worth it to have them on to a certain point. Because it's like, well, if I'm going to have to keep readjusting to get them on, what's the point?
Yeah.
And, like, even when we walked through, I was handed the glasses and I was holding the phone gimbal in my right hand, so I was trying to put the glasses on with my left, and I am not, shall we say, ambidextrous. And because I am not ambidextrous,
coordinated.
That too. I was not able to get the glasses on, and I just said, you know what, fuck it. I don't care at this point. It is what it is.
And at one point, I believe I was like, I just took my glasses off, and he's like, oh, I never had mine on.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it, but you know what? The detail work in there was great. There were some really cool moments in there. You'll get to see everything on Inside the Haunt. We're not going into nearly as much detail with this one as we normally would. Because like we said, there's not really a whole lot to gripe on. In terms of the actors, they all did their jobs that they were supposed to. Nobody broke character. Everybody stuck true through it. The sets were phenomenal. The detail work was phenomenal. We saw things in this haunt that we haven't necessarily seen before. A lot of, what would you call it? A lot of screen-based things. I thought that's a new element we haven't seen too much.
I'm not a huge fan of them. I've got to say, I'm not. There is some areas where it's actually really cool. Like, there's one specific scare that you'll get to see on Inside the Haunt. Hopefully that you got a good angle of it. Where a screen is used, and then you go into a corresponding room. And it is a really cool effect. Like, that is a lot of fun. But I don't know. I'm just kind of not really a huge fan of screens and haunted houses.
Well, honey, I hate to break it to you, but that's the new frontier.
That's going to be my clown house.
Yeah, that's a lot of the big ones are starting to use that. It's the new technology coming out.
And while we are on, the subject of clown houses, we got farted on by a clown.
We did. Not a literal human, but it was like
a giant prop clown. And there was something else I was going to say, but I completely forgot what it was now.
Yeah, maybe you'll think about it.
And then it'll be just very irrelevant at the point.
Probably. We'll be talking about something else. We'll be talking about another haunt a week from now, and you'll be like, oh yeah. You're like, wait a minute. No, that's... No.
Yeah, you got to talk about screens, and I lost my train of thought.
Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, I mean, that's the big thing here, is this is very much on a professional scale, very professional level. Really cool moments. We saw... Didn't we see an entire Yeti in this house?
We saw 3.
Yeah, so that was a moment.
Oh, I do remember what I was going to say.
Oh, see, there you go. I jogged your memory.
No, it wasn't any of that. I was sitting here thinking about it and using left and right brain to try to listen to you and think about what I was going to say. So Jeremy has been comparing this a lot to Netherworld. Well, anybody who has been to Netherworld, and even if you haven't, if you go back and watch some of the earlier Terror Talks videos where Jeremy has actually went to Netherworld and reviewed it, and possibly you may even get to see an Inside the Haunt video before it was the Inside the Haunt video.
No, I was never allowed to film in there.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind about that. But you'll kind of understand what I say when I say quick scares, which are those scares that you gotta do it quick, and then you gotta hop back into your hidey hole so that you can be ready for the next group. Because it's like a conga line.
Yeah.
Well, this haunt also had a very similar thing where the groups were concerned, where it was kind of like a conga line. And that being said, there was no quick scares.
Yeah.
I was very impressed by that. No quick scares.
Yeah.
Lots of jump scares. But, I mean, you had, like, your Clown House did this especially well, and I know you don't like clown houses, but I'm going to say it anyway. Clown House had, like, some very good, like, showy dialogues with us. Like, and it was like they would pick somebody in the group, and they would, like, do their little skit with the entire group as we're walking through, but they would pick a person, like, a starting point, and start as that person was walking through, and then change their act up a little bit when their next, start point person comes through.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, we're all in a conga line, so it's kind of constant creativity.
Yeah, no, it was very much you didn't get the conga line scare, hit the trigger, and that be it.
Yeah, and it wasn't like one of those where, as you're going through, and because these quick scares are happening so often, that you kind of either miss your scare because somebody way ahead of you got it, and the scare actor or scare actress is getting ready to do it again, and you just happen to be walking through, or you see it ahead of you, and then it happens to you, and you're like,
Yeah.
because you've already seen it. You didn't get any of that.
I will say, I think in this one I did not get scared nearly as much because it kind of had that netherworld vibe to it. So I did not necessarily get scared, but still, there was probably a few moments, I think. I'd have to go back and watch the video.
I know that little girl behind us did. I turned around at one point, and a scare actor popped out just as soon as I turned around, and this poor little girl hit the floor.
Poor thing.
Poor thing. And apparently this was one of her first times in a haunted house, because I overheard her talking to her sister?
I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't actually stop and talk to them, so like I'm not really sure about that part.
Yeah,
but
we're
she
just
looked
eavesdropping.
a little bit young to be the girl's mom, so I'm just assuming she was her sister. But she was telling her, "I'm not gonna get scared this time." And then
you thought.
Well, sweetheart, you're on the floor now, so
There you go. So moving on, like we said, the haunt was really phenomenal, really great things, definitely star quality, Hollywood quality. At the end of the haunt, as we always say, all good things must end where, friends?
In the gift shop.
Yeah, exactly. And this is no exception. You do end up in their retail store, which regrettably we didn't get to check out.
Which, you say all good things must end in the gift shop, and it not being an exception, but it was an exceptional gift shop.
It was, except for the fact we didn't get to shop for gifts.
No, because there was a lot of people in there, but it was there was a gift shop in this little alcove area, and then the rest of it was like arcade games and photo ops. There was even some props that you could pay to have the experience. Like there was an electric chair, and you put your coins in. It's kind of like those little coin operated rides that would be sitting out front of like a grocery store or something.
Yeah.
But it was an electric chair, like a fake electric chair that I guess would buzz or whatever. I didn't get to see it done, and we didn't have any coins on us, so like we couldn't put the $3 worth of coins in there to do it. But it's kind of like a cool little nod to being able to be a part of it yourself. And of course they had memorabilia from like anywhere from Elvira to like Leatherface and Hannibal Lecter and Chucky. I actually got a photo op with a couple of props. I don't know who one of them was, but then there was Pennywise the Clown and Jack from The Shining.
Yeah.
And because I love The Shining, and my dog is actually named after The Shining, but ironically enough, I have not seen it all the way through. I've seen the beginning, and then I've seen the end, just not together. But anyway, beside the point irrelevant. I absolutely love it, so I absolutely had to get a picture with him. And they even had the Grinch.
Yeah, they had like some actual costumes that were, I don't know many people who are going to know who I'm talking about when I say this, but for those of you who may or may not know, Rick Baker did a lot of really, really cool makeup in his day. He is a very renowned makeup artist who did stuff for Planet of the Apes, Men in Black, Harry and the Hendersons, and what's funny is now I'm literally doing the spiel from Horror Makeup Show at Universal because they talk about him. That's
the Grinch Stole Christmas.
That's yeah, he did the Grinch. I think he got an Academy Award for that actually.
Well, he deserved it.
Oh no, he got the Academy Award for oh, what is it called? It's the movie that we hated. Sort of fell asleep during American Werewolf in London.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Knock at the Cabin in the Woods.
Oh no, old movie that we were not big fans of. But the
makeup was really cool in that though.
Yes, very much so. And but anyways, beside the point, they have some of Rick Baker's actual costumes and props in that room, which I saw at a distance. I couldn't get close enough to like look at it and appreciate it. And if the room hadn't been so claustrophobic, I probably would have taken more time and really taken that in.
Well, I mean,
because that's really cool.
It was a big city, and we're little country mice, so.
And we also decided to go to a haunt on what some would call the busiest weekend of haunt season, the weekend right before Halloween.
We couldn't really help that, so.
I mean, no, I don't regret it. I mean, I think it was a fine idea to do it when we did it, and it was great. But beside the point, there were some really cool things to see. I just wish the gift shop was not so congested. Like, I wish there was a way to, almost
have it be a little bit bigger.
Yeah, have it be bigger, or have it in a different place, or just some way to sort of dilute the crowd, because every person that comes out of the haunt gets dumped right into the gift shop, which is great, for them from a business standpoint. But for us who are like, it's too people-y, it kind of.
I don't like people, and Jeremy kind of tries to keep me away from too many people if he can help it.
And even I get claustrophobic sometimes in those situations.
But one of the things I found pretty interesting, just, crowd watching. There was this guy and his dad, and they were looking at some of the stuff that you could buy, because it's not just like stuff for the haunt. It is, a little bit of everything for everyone, right? And this kid openly did not really like the haunt, because apparently he didn't like scary stuff or something. Well, we were kind of standing there doing the photo ops and everything, and I overheard him say something about, I hate that we had to go through the haunt to get to the store. Meaning that they walked all the way through this haunted house just to get into the gift shop.
But allow me, my dear, sweet, darling woman of mine, to enlighten you. You actually do not have to go through the haunt to get to this gift shop.
Sorry, buddy. Your dad just dragged you through a haunt.
Yeah, damn. Yeah,
damn.
Sorry you had to find out this
Poor
way.
Kid.
Yeah, so if you go on their website, it's the horror retail store is what they call it. It's all new. And you can visit the Darkness Horror Retail Store anytime the Darkness Haunted House is open. You do not need a ticket to the Darkness to visit. All you have to do is go to the back of the building and walk up the stairs. And it is actually, the horror store at the Darkness is going to be open year-round, coming very soon. So stay tuned for that. We'll try when we hear about that, we will post something about that.
Okay, so maybe his dad didn't do it on purpose, because if you're saying that you have to walk around the back, there was not really many signs telling you that you could do that.
Yeah.
And also, the back of this haunt, like we said, or maybe we didn't say it. I don't really remember. It is way after midnight, right? At the time we are recording this, and I am tired and I forget shit. But as you leave the gift shop, you go out a door and you go down like a stairwell, and then there's a weird little side door, and then you walk up the sidewalk that is blocked off with like pedestrian gate. I don't know how else to say that. But anyway, if I was just planning on going to the store, I also would have thought, oh well, I guess I gotta go through the haunt because I don't know how to get through here any other way. So I would definitely say, if that is something y'all are wanting to do, keeping that open, I would advertise it just a little bit more so you don't have angsty teenagers talking to their dads about, I hate that we had to go through the haunt to get to this shop.
And it could, I mean, we don't know the whole story. At this point, we're eavesdropping. Like, what do we know?
I mean, but we kind of couldn't help it because there were so many people in there.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's going to be open year-round soon. They also have some escape rooms and retro golf, too, that are things that they have. If you go literally right next door, they have the St. Louis escape rooms, and they have Dracula's Escape, Wonderful Wizard of Oz, Cellar, Mansion, Jurassic Island, Frankenstein, and Blackbeard's Revenge. And it also features a vintage arcade with 20 pinball games, and then you can play retro golf there as well. Blacklight
we
golf.
Were in the vintage arcade.
Maybe we were in there, and it's like I don't know. Maybe it's an offshoot of it. I'm not entirely sure, but that is a thing you can do. Yeah, we did not. If we'd have had a lot more time, we could have probably sat around there and really we probably could have hung around.
Could have figured it out.
We probably could have hung around a little longer than we did, but we did sort of book it once we were finished because we're like, well, we got to get to this next haunt without realizing, well, we probably could have, we could have taken our time and taken it in a little bit more, which is something we've learned along the way is, there's a few of these haunts that were like, well, I guess we could have taken some time, but, the world may never know.
And also, no shade being thrown to the good people of Missouri, but Ansley was getting a little bit overwhelmed at the sheer amount of people there were, not even just in the haunt, but in the city in general.
Which we know it's a city. It's we're not saying Ansley's stupid or anything.
Yeah,
but
I am a country mouse in a city mouse environment, very much so where that is concerned. And it did overwhelm me very much. And Jeremy was just being a good boyfriend and being like, okay, well, we're going to hit this haunt and then we're going to leave.
Well, it's not so much that I was being a good boyfriend. I mean, I'll take the credit, but...
Okay, well, fuck you then.
I mean, yes, we both wanted to get out of there because it was very claustrophobic. I get why there's only certain things they can do, because the thing is everybody gets congealed in that gift shop area, but they can't really have them anywhere else because as soon as you walk out the door, you're actually in front of an apartment complex.
Yeah, and you gotta get out of there as soon as possible. They actually have it on signs.
Yeah, they literally say hey, you can't hang around. People are sleeping, basically.
Yeah,
which
you don't want to get yelled at or in trouble by these people in the apartments because you won't shut the hell up about how much you love our haunt.
Right, which honestly is kind of
respectful.
Yeah, it's a great thing. And honestly, the times that they're open, if I'm reading the website right, they close at 9 every night because of that thing. Maybe that. Yeah, no, it says in the month of October, they close 7 to 9, and then on Halloween it's 6:45 to 10. So the latest they will ever close will be at 10 on a peak night, basically. So, I mean, they are very much catering to that area right there.
Which we could be wrong. It could be like a city noise ordinance thing. And we just don't know because, like we said, we're country mice in a city mice environment.
Oh yeah, no, I read it wrong because now I'm looking at the calendar. It says 7 to 11:30.
Oh, okay. Well,
never mind. We
that
tried to give
shot
y'all
our
credit.
argument out the water.
Yep.
But
Sunday through Thursdays is 7 to 9, and then on Fridays and Saturdays till 11:30.
so basically, on all your work nights, they close a little bit early so people can get some shut eye because they got to work in the morning.
But then on the
but
weekend they say fuck you.
They're like, "Hey yo, party!"
But it's haunt season. I mean, I'm sure like people realize that. Like, beside the point, irrelevant. I think we've talked enough about the darkness, because we still have one more big one to talk about.
And it is big.
Yes.
It is so big. There's
it's huge.
13 haunts in this area.
Something like that. I don't know. Well, I'll have to look. So let us rate the darkness, shall we? You know, it's been a bucket list for me for years. I finally got to experience it, and honestly, it was everything I could have asked for and more.
And I'm predicting you give them a 5.
And you would be predicting correct. I'm giving them a 5. Yes, I obviously hate the clown stuff. And I was not a huge fan of how the gift shop is set up. But for me, it cannot overshadow the fact of how good this haunt really is. It is, I mean, they say it's one of America's scariest. They say it's America's #1. It has earned that spot. If nothing else, it's definitely St. Louis's #1.
Well, I'm going to argue with you on that because I think the next one we're talking about is going to be better. So I'm going to give them a 4.5.
Ooh, okay. Well, damn. Who could have ever predicted this? I mean that in the most non-sarcastic way. But even so, with Ansley giving them a 4.5, I give them a 5. That gives them a grand total at the end of the day of, drumroll please, 5 screams. The Darkness Haunted House is a 5 screams rated haunted attraction. Ansley would like to take the floor for a moment to explain why she gave them a 4.5.
So, all the sets were beautiful. All of them were very well done. For a big money, big ticket haunt like this, all the access screens and the 3D area seem very try-hard haunt for me. Especially considering you've got all these amazing sets from, like, the moment you walk in, you see all of this, like, amazing detail. You see these larger-than-life animatronics. You walk into little worlds, basically. And then you go to the clown area, and from what you've shown me, like, in the beginning of this haunt, all the way up until this point, I'm expecting, like, full wall-to-wall, actually feel like I'm in a big top circus area. I'm not expecting, you know, the paint to jump off the wall at me. And that's I'm gonna be like one of your least favorite kind of people. It's giving low budget haunt. That's trying really hard. The clown house was.
Oh, I was about to say.
Not the rest of it.
I was
the
about to
rest
say,
of it was
what?
phenomenal. But the clown house, it was like, you give me all this energy. You give me these great sets. You give me these amazing actors. You get to clown house, and you're like, eh.
Yeah.
So I had to take that half a point away because, of course, I understand that, you know, one piece of the haunt is not going to sink your ship. But at the same time, I need you to give me a little bit more than a couple of clown animatronics and some paint popping off the wall. Like, And of course, the screens. I'm not a huge fan of them. And we have seen this one screen, and I did kind of touch on it earlier, and I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but we've seen it in at least 3 haunts now. And this particular one was done pretty well, but it was at a weird part of the haunt, and I'm not a huge fan of screens in haunted houses, and that's gonna go for any, like, haunted house. Of course, there is some that you can get that are just really, really cool, but I don't, if I want to watch TV, I'll stay home. Yeah.
Damn,
so,
she's grueling y'all on this TV thing.
And that's not to say that some of the screens aren't cool, because I've worked in haunts where, like, you have these screens, and maybe it's in, like, the asylum, and they've got this certain scene playing out, and it just gives you that little bit of extra depth. But I mean, the one thing I was talking about, the screen that we have seen in a couple of haunts, it just kind of doesn't make sense. And I can't even tell you why, because I don't want to give it away. Because it is a really cool effect, and I would feel really bad about, like, having you guys lose it. Because of me divulging that information. But it kind of doesn't make sense, because the scene is moving, but you know that you're in a room and you're not moving.
Yeah.
And it's not coming towards you.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's not coming towards you, but, and it's not like, it's not a jump scare. It just really does not make sense.
Yeah.
So, just for y'all's clown house, I'm gonna have to take that little half point away, but I mean, y'all really kind of don't even miss it, because y'all still got y'all's 5-star scream.
Yeah. 5 scream.
5
5
scream
rating. 5 scream rating.
Yeah, that.
So, The Darkness is a 5 scream rated haunted attraction, as rated by our Terror Talk Scream Scale. Don't believe us? Go check it out for yourself and let us know if you agree or disagree. On the night of recording this, you still have technically 3 chances to check it out. They are open this evening, Halloween night, from 7 to 10:30 p.m. They are open November 1st and 2nd from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. So check them out. You have 3 more chances for haunt season. Then, during Christmas, they're going to do a special Krampus event, both, you heard earlier, at Lemp on one night, and on the second night of the event, they're going to do it at Darkness. So they're sort of dividing and conquering here. So the event at Darkness is going to be on December 14th from 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. So you can go check that out. And then they're going to do a My Bloody Valentine event at the Darkness on the 15th from 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. As we said earlier, Lemp is doing it on the 13th for Krampus and the 14th for My Bloody Valentine. And then Darkness will take it on the 14th of December and 15th of February.
Which kind of goes back to our first point about it being an overflow haunt.
Yeah.
With you saying that they're dividing and conquering, because they even make a point to say that it's less than a mile from the Darkness.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so it's definitely basically an overflow haunt.
Definitely, so over at Lemp, they're going to do Krampus's Lair underground, and then at the Darkness, they're doing Jack Frost's Revenge, and then they're both doing the Perfect Bloody Valentine's date night. Which I should point out, both events are limited to 1,000 tickets per night. And apparently this is for the first time ever, one weekend only. So you have to get it in, you have to get there, do it, and make sure you get your tickets, because after the first 1,000, they sell out, it's done. You will not have a chance to go.
Yeah, go show them some love and, have fun while you're doing it.
Yeah, they absolutely deserve it. They are a really well done haunted attraction located at 1525 South 8th Street, St. Louis, Missouri 63104. We're going to take a little break to hear from our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to round out this St. Louis adventure with Creepyworld. Don't go anywhere.
Are you a haunt owner looking to spice up your haunted attraction this year? Or maybe just a neighbor who loves to turn their home into a scene fit for a horror movie? No matter the case, our friends at Haunted FX Props can help turn your Halloween vision into a living nightmare. These horrifying geniuses specialize in building haunted house props, lighting for your haunted attraction, and designing haunted houses and escape rooms that are sure to keep your fans coming back for more. How much is it? Well, your prices will vary based on the services provided for your haunt. So get in touch with them today to set up what you need. You can visit them today at their Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok by simply searching Haunted FX Props. To not only get in contact with them, but also to see some of the work that they do, or you can visit them at their website, www.hauntedfxprops.com. You can also personally contact them by emailing them at info@hauntedfxprops.com, or you can call them directly at 706-799-5382. Again, that is 706-799-5382. Anytime from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. So be sure to contact Haunted FX Props today to make sure your haunt can be the absolute best it can be.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Before the break, we talked about Lemp Brewery Haunted House, and then we talked about the Darkness Haunted House, both located in St. Louis, Missouri. Now we're going to talk about Creepyworld, St. Louis' biggest haunted scream park. America's biggest and longest haunted scream park is back, bigger and scarier than ever before, with 3 new attractions, including Monster Mansion, Horror Selfie Museum, and an updated hayride. Creepyworld has 13 different haunted attractions in one location. Creepyworld opens September 27th. Then you can visit the Darkness, located about 20 minutes away. And we've already talked about the Darkness, so you already know all about that fun mess of love that is there. So, Creepyworld. Like we said, there is 13 different haunted attractions all here in this one location because there is so much ground to cover. We're not going to talk about every single little thing. We're going to do a brief rundown of what each thing you can do is, and then we're going to sort of just jump around and point out the little moments that we have. So going in no particular order at all, we will start with Camp Blood Creek, which basically is your homage to Jason, Camp Crystal Lake, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah. Didn't really notice too much, like, bad stuff. Like, we didn't get any help me's, which was awesome. Love that. But the actress that was there to greet us kind of, honestly, I don't know if it was her or not, but the groups got a little weird.
Yeah, there was a pile up there, which made no sense. We're not sure why it just stopped. I'm guessing this actress kind of, I'm not going to say broke the rule, because I don't necessarily believe in this rule.
She kind of did it to us, though.
Well, no, the rule I was going to say was they teach you when you're scare acting to always scare forward.
And don't hold up the groups, right?
Right, and that's a fair...
And she held us up.
Well, that's a fair thing. This was a very random circumstance, though, because I myself, having scare acted, have stood at the front of groups and not necessarily scared them backwards, but made it so they didn't want to pass me, and I didn't run into any issues when I did that.
Yeah, well, you're the kind of haunt actor we don't like.
Okay, well, it scared the shit out of the people I was scaring, and that's what I'm there for, so I don't care. I mean, it worked. It did its purpose at the end of the night, so, I mean, like it or hate it, I mean, don't matter to me.
Anyway, beside the point, irrelevant. I think that she ended up holding us up to kind of separate our groups back out because of the pileup. So to her credit, I believe that's what she was doing. I could be wrong. She could have just like had a lapse in judgment and was just like, I'm just gonna mess with this group for a minute.
I'm thinking it was probably to hold us and let us sort of get separated there. That's my thing I'm going with. They had I don't want to tell you what they had. They had something really cool here that is about like 8 feet tall.
I loved him.
Actually, it was like 13 feet tall.
I loved it.
But Ansley loved it. I loved it. You'll just have to see what it is.
I want him for my bedroom.
I'm sure you'll see it on the Inside the Haunt episode. Moving on from Camp Blood Creek. Like I said, we're not going in order. You also have St. Lucifer's Hospital, which was the first building we go into, which is very interesting. They had a hospital and an asylum on this. That's kind of unseen, in my opinion.
Double white coat syndrome.
Yeah, and they were in 2 different areas, so that was very strange. But in this,
kind of worked still though.
yeah, the St. Lucifer's Asylum the St. Lucifer's Hospital was the first house of the attraction you went in, and was actually in like a building, or at the very least was inside of a some trailers, I think.
Really done up facade.
Yes. The facade was gorgeous. All the facades in this particular attraction were gorgeous, in my opinion. There was a few that weren't really anything to look at, but this particular one was done really well. And we'll talk about the other ones as we get to them. But this is the one where you had your little, what you noticed.
Sponsored by Roku.
Yeah. We were going through, if you heard earlier in the episode, we're talking about screens and televisions being used more in haunts.
And they were heavily used in this facade. And one of them, the picture was playing, but for some reason, there was the, Roku logo just kind of hanging out in the top corner. And not only that, another reason I hate screens and haunts is because it gives you a really bad opportunity to be repetitive.
Yeah.
Because when you're walking up to it, there is 2 screens. One is on the quote unquote top floor, the upstairs window. And it is somebody, I guess, getting murdered. Well, the exact same scene, just zoomed in a little bit more, is playing on one of the bottom windows. Yeah. But like I was saying before the break and everything, you can use them to give a little bit of depth, and we have seen it used in some pretty accurate ways. Some ways a lot less accurate than others. But, I mean, that being said, they do give you some depth in some situations, but like I said, screens technology is very finicky. And so you get sponsored by Roku. And you also get repetitive if you either don't buy the rights to multiple different scenes, or you just get lazy and decide, oh, well, this is good enough. We're just going to have the same scene upstairs as downstairs. Maybe she got a twin sister that's also getting murdered by a twin murderer.
Yeah. So, yeah, fix your screens. One of the things I noticed going through this particular part of the haunt was they were pumping buckets and buckets of fog in.
Which we love.
We do love, but what we have learned in the haunt world is, what do you do when you don't have actors and you're trying to hide the fact you don't have actors?
Yeah, fog it up.
Yep. And I will say this was the one haunt that it was painfully obvious in certain places that they were missing actors. And, I mean, I get it. It's the weekend before Halloween, and we even happened to talk to a guy in line who worked there, and he wasn't working there that night. He came through as a customer. So who's to say that a bunch of them didn't? But beside the point, that was a little disappointing that there were not as many actors, but there were still some. Moving on to Silo X, like I said, we're not going even remotely in order here. This was your sort of zombie kind of hazmat radioactive
Oh yeah, where I got stepped on.
You got stepped on here?
Yep. One of the chainsaw guys that was in a tunnel chased after Jeremy because of course Jeremy had the camera. I'm not digging on anybody because, as a scare actor, especially when you're inside the haunt, if there's an opportunity to be seen, you kind of take it.
Yeah.
So he was going after Jeremy and stepped on my foot and slammed into me. It was totally an accident, but I would be more careful, especially in that small of a space with a chainsaw. And while we're talking about chainsaws, do you want to point out what I'm going to say?
So, it was very odd. All of the chainsaws in this haunt are missing.
Not all of them.
No, all of them were.
His wasn't.
Oh, well, I'm glad.
Some of them weren't.
I'm pretty sure they were all missing them, except for out on the hayride.
Okay, some of them, it was literally just the motor mechanism that you hold in your hand. The blade was gone. And yes, we do understand, kind of, like, we have, like, an idea of why that may be. Because in the areas where the blade part was gone, it was areas like the top walkway right as you're coming out of the first haunt and you're like walking past the queue line and you're kind of up on like a platform. So obviously you don't want to chase somebody and they run into that and fall into the crowd or something because that would be tragic and terrible. Yeah. And then you had another one that I noticed also didn't have a blade and the walkway was pretty narrow. And the other side was a bunch of trees and some props, and you don't want somebody to fall into your props or something. So I understand it to an extent, safety-wise, yes. But it was kind of, they were just running around with buzzing boxes.
Yeah, it was very odd.
Like, you got some bees in that box?
Up next you have Slaughter and Son Funeral Home. Typical funeral home area. Nothing really to it. I mean, it was good. Not really a whole lot to say.
Honestly, I don't really remember that one.
It was like one of the second ones we went through. It was earlier on because that's the thing is you go through like the first 3.
And you don't even realize you're doing it until you realize that you've walked a very long time.
Yeah.
And, well, we're in another queue line.
Yeah, and that's the thing is each haunt jumps you into another queue line, and then it's even further separated because you have the haunted hayride. So I guess since we're sort of there in that middle ground there, let's talk about that. Haunted hayride was phenomenal.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Granted, it's the shortest haunted hayride we've ever taken, but has to hands down be one of the best.
Yeah. Quality over quantity.
Very much so. I think we clocked it at like 3 minutes. So it really is super short.
I'll let you know if I can send it to you like in messages or something, because if that's the case, then it's for close to under 5 minutes.
Yeah, it definitely was a shorter one, but the amount of scenes in there and things that you saw, like, it really was kind of like a sensory overload because you were just like boom, 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 boom. You had Michael Myers, you had Jason, you had Freddy, you had Leatherface, you had Norman Bates. That
one was left field because not a lot of people who know who Norman Bates is anymore.
No, they don't. And the fact that like we get some representation from classic Hollywood horror, that was really cool to me. That honestly was a highlight. You got Jaws in there. Like, yeah. They went as far as they had the actual billboard from the movie. I don't know if it was from the movie, but it looks like what the one in the movie looks like that said, beaches closed, no swimming. I would even venture a guess, and I could be totally wrong here, but if someone at Creepyworld wants to reach out and confirm this for me, being that Creepyworld is as big of a company as they are, I would venture a guess that sign came directly from Universal Studios. when they closed the Jaws ride.
I mean, and it very well could. And also, the Jaws animatronic looked very familiar.
Yeah, it was top
a little
tier.
dilapidated and in a very weird spot. But other than that, he looked very good.
Definitely. And then you
very nostalgic and
yeah. Absolutely. And then you had like actual animatronics out there on like I mean obviously you mentioned the Jaws one just now, but they had like the 13-foot tall animatronics that you usually only see inside of warehouses.
Yeah.
And they had them on a hayride open to the elements.
And they used them in such a clever way because you're over here looking at this 13-foot tall animatronic, and then Freddy jumps onto the trailer with you, and you're like, oh shit.
And then the animatronic comes at you like it was a lot of misdirection.
And at one point, you had Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, and Norman all coming at you all at once. And it was so wonderful to see because we had some girls over like close to us and they were in the floor. They were screaming and trying to get off the trailer because they were so scared, and it was amazing.
I have it on video.
Oh, y'all will get to see that. Yay!
It definitely, like, if I could take that hayride, expand it into a, like, 20, 30, even 40-minute hayride, that would be beautiful. Because it had all the makings of what good hayrides should be. And it was like, boom, we just got it in this very short amount of time. And they even had details like facades and sets out there that they didn't have to go that extra mile. But they went as like they built Norman Bates's house.
And when we say that they built his house, it was just a facade.
Yeah, because we saw it from the backside.
It was literally just a, like, I almost said lean-to, but that is not the word.
It was just the front. I mean,
yeah, it was just the front. Because, and we know that because, well, definitely in the queue line, you don't know what you're looking for because you don't know, like, you haven't been on the ride yet. But as you're going through, it looks like a full house. Like, they go to the extent of kind of semi-wrapping it just enough to where you get the depth of this house, and it looks like, oh, well, it's just kind of back in the shadows a little bit, but the front's lit up.
Right.
And then you get back into the queue line to go into the next house, and you look up, and there's not a house there at all.
Right. You realize, oh, that's the backside of it. That's just the structure, support beams. So it really is quite impressive. Yeah, very impressive. So you have the hayride, then you have the Monster Mansion, which, again, bringing you the joy of, like, your classic monsters. You know, you got to see your Frankenstein, your Wolfman. We saw I think this was where we saw the coolest wolf puppet, that animatronic that we've seen.
Yes, definitely.
Like, hands down, freaking amazing. I don't know if
I think he was an animatronic.
Yeah,
because I did hear the mechanism right before.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, with everything going on, a normal person would not notice it.
Right. I think I got it on camera, so you might get to see it.
I am praying you did.
Because it was honestly one of the coolest wolf animatronics ever. Because you had, like, 2 other ones, and then this one did what it did, and it was like, oh, shit, that's awesome.
Okay, so it kind of comes out at you the way an animatronic would, but it does something that not a lot of animatronics will do.
Right.
And I don't want to give it away, so I've got to be vague about it. Like, I'm sorry, guys. I really want to tell you what it does, but I kind of can't without giving it away. Yeah. So, that being said, moving on.
Yeah, figure it out for yourself.
Watch the Inside the Haunt video.
Yeah. After that, you go to Fright High. We all know how I feel about schools.
You just hate everything.
High schools.
But whatever. I will say, it was meh.
Exactly. Yeah.
In terms of, like, this versus all the other ones, this is on the lower end. Like, if they're going to get rid of something, I'm going to be like, that would probably need to be the first to go.
Yeah, that'd be one I would be very happy to see go.
But that being said, it was very well decorated and did have some very scary moments.
It did, especially calculus and history and all that.
You took calculus?
No, but they had little signs and stuff through there that like were actual math problems. I'm like, oh my god, that's the scariest thing in here. Which at that point, I hate to say it, it kind of was like.
It was. It kind of just. It felt like a filler house.
Yeah.
Like where you would throw your newbie actors or your actors that don't want to be acting that night but came to help you out.
Right. Moving on from there, you have Bobo's Slaughterhouse. This is basically bloody clowns with chainsaws.
That's exactly what the little sign in the queue line said, was bloody clowns with chainsaws.
That's what the sign right there says too, and that's what the guy who works there told us it was too. So it's exactly what it sounds like. There's not really anything to say about it. I mean, I will say, especially in this part of the haunt, they loved to have stuff hanging down in your face.
Here we go.
Because
use the term.
No, this isn't so much Sif. I don't consider this Sif. I'm talking they had full-ass bodies hanging.
Yeah.
Because I threw several of them back at Ansley and, like, damn near took her out, I'm pretty sure.
There was a pig carcass, and I'm pretty sure that thing bruised me.
Yeah, and
it was heavy.
I think this was the haunt where there was one, I was, like, using my camera to film, and I went to do, like, a cool effect with the camera, hit the head, and the head just swung back and whopped Ansley in the face, and she was just like, thanks for the warning. I was like,
thanks for the heads up.
Heads up, get it? Anyways.
Yeah, so definitely had to walk with my arms out in front of me, like guarding my entire face. Because also, they use freezer curtains, like the rubber strip curtains.
Yeah.
But they were cut where they would only hit you from the neck up.
Yeah.
Like, they were literally just hitting you in the face. They weren't really separating anything. It was more just to piss you off.
And it wasn't just in this house either. All of the houses used them in some way. Very,
but
very
this house
frequently.
Specifically,
yes.
They, like, I guess cut the bottoms off. And, I mean, I get it. Like, I understand it. It's to kind of throw you off and so you're not expecting what's coming next. But it really did. It just pissed me off because I was like, I am so fucking sick of running into these damn things. And then immediately after, they would have the freezer curtains that had been cut off. And then immediately after, like a foot in front of you, there's a head. And so as you're coming out of this curtain, you're running straight into somebody else's face.
Yeah. So those were really annoying, but in any case...
really annoying.
Yeah.
They can go with the schoolhouse.
Right. Honestly, it's clowns again, too, so they can go. Anyways. Then finally you come to the last building, which is the Brigantine Asylum. Has to be one of the most gorgeous asylum facades we have ever seen in our life.
Which is really funny to say about a haunt.
It is so... It's funny, because there's a picture on their website. It looks just like the picture. And the picture is a cartoon rendered image. But it looks just like it. Like, when you're there in person, it looks like that. And that was so freaking just... It took my breath away to walk up to it.
Yeah, he, like, kind of slowed down and he's like, wow!
Like, I'm hoping I got a good picture of it. I don't know if I did or not. I know I got a good video of it. But
because usually I'm the one taking the pictures, but because we were hitting these haunts back to back to back to back to back, I was like more along the lines of, you know what, most of this we're going to be standing in the queue, and you can't really get good pictures from the queue itself.
Yeah.
You have to be right on it, but you're going to be constantly moving because you're going through a queue, so there's really no point for me.
Right. There are some really good facades all along this thing. I think the three most notable ones are definitely the Asylum, the St. Lucifer's Hospital, and the Slaughter and Son Funeral Home.
The Slaughter and Sons Funeral Home and the asylum, definitely. But the Lucifer's Hospital, if they didn't have those screens everywhere, it would have been better.
Yeah. But still, gorgeous facade. The inside is exactly what you expect. It's an asylum. And at the end, what happens? You get chased up by chainsaws. I mean, that the grand scheme of things. So, yeah. That's all of the actual haunt stuff. They do have other attractions as well. They have their Monster Midway, which has a bunch of monster photo ops. They have the Jack-o'-lantern Spooktacular, which this was a really cool thing they do now, which is a more family-friendly vibe, and it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of carved pumpkins in all sorts of different things, pop culture references, characters. You name it, they probably had it in this part of the attraction. And this is a separate thing. You buy these tickets separate to go through there. And we had a great time going through there. It was really cool to give it a little family-friendly aspect to everything.
Yeah, but with that being said, I was very, sad on some of them, especially the Elvira pumpkin at the end. But some of them were broken.
Yeah.
It was like somebody came through and, punched holes in them. Was like, oh, I don't like that design. Pachow! And, busted it. Poor Elvira's mouth was gone. There was some where it looked like it was the outside of the carving, but, the inside internal part of the carving itself was gone, and so it was literally just outlines. Some of them you could tell that they were super detailed before whatever incident occurred, and we don't know if it was dumbass teenagers, or if it was bad little kids, or if it was just scariest little kids, or people fell into them. It really did break my heart, because it was so much fun to run through there and be like, oh, this is that character. Oh, there's that character. And it wasn't even just pumpkins. They had a couple of animatronics out there. They had Jack Skeleton and Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger. I forgot who the other one was. I think it was just another Michael. Could be wrong on that, though.
There was a bunch.
But there was so much to look at, and it really did break my heart to see some of the pumpkins busted.
Yeah.
Because somebody had to have taken their time and meticulously carved these little foam pumpkins to put everywhere. Some of them were even not over.
Yeah, I think I would have much rather them gone through and
took all the broken ones out.
Yeah, because then at least you don't have that disappointment. But I know to do that every night, that's a huge ask.
Yeah, and then if you do that night after night, obviously more pumpkins are going to get broken, and then eventually you're just not going to have pumpkin.
Yeah. But it's still a cool little thing. It's nice to have it. And when they mentioned the Halloween barn, that's you're walking out as you're leaving. They also have some more carved pumpkins in there. So clearly they really pride themselves on their pumpkin carving and whatnot. There's something mentioned about a Creepyworld Freak Show live stage show. We didn't get to see that, so we cannot speak on behalf of that. I didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah.
It might be what was if you're waiting in the long line to get into the haunt, and you are one of the sad people who have to wait in that.
Oh, I do know what it was.
Fiendishly long line.
So, if it is what I think it is, there was an animatronic band, which we've been seeing a lot of those pop up.
Yeah.
And it's literally just a little band of either monsters or skeletons or, humanoid creatures of some sort. And they're playing the little bass guitar, or playing the piano, or playing the drums. And they're just singing along to popular tunes, and it's so cute, and I do love it so much.
Yeah, it very well could be that. Like I said, it's hard to tell just from the poster, so I don't know. But if it is that, it's a cute little way to kill time in the lines and whatnot. And then finally you have your Monster Selfie Museum, which is a new thing. where they have statues of basically all famous monsters you can think of. They had, who all did they have? They had
Mothman,
oh, yeah.
Edgar Allan Poe. I was like, whoa, what?
Right, like it was
Because
like that was out of left field.
Yeah, I'm a huge poetry fan, and of course my favorite's Robert Frost. But I do love and respect Edgar Allan Poe, and he has become very like well known in pop culture nowadays because of the show Wednesday.
Yeah.
So he has been popping up more and more, but to actually see him as a figure you could take pictures with, but the grouping of them was weird to me. Because you had Edgar Allan Poe, and then you had Jack Skellington, and then you had Freddy Krueger and Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, they were just sort of mix matched everywhere, just placed in random places. But you still got to see all the ones that you would like to see.
They had Mothman.
Yeah, that was another left field sort of thing. They had the Crypt Keeper, but they didn't label him as the Crypt Keeper, but he was clearly the Crypt Keeper.
Some of them labeled.
Yeah, it was interesting though. Definitely some cool moments.
2 different Frankensteins, 2 different Draculas.
Yeah.
Nosferatu.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the Crypt Keeper. And then they had the famous Pennywise holding poor little Georgie animatronic, but it wasn't working. It was more a stagnant figure, which they have the same one in the haunt as well, and it is actually working. So you will get to see it working.
Yeah.
Take a shot every time Ansley says working. And they also have it at the Darkness.
Yep.
In the, I guess, like Midway area, and I don't think he was moving. I could be wrong. He could be another stagnant prop, but they also have him in the Clown House as well. But anyway, we did have a little bit of a hiccup, but that was not on the haunt's fault. That was none of the haunt's fault. That was just ignorant people.
Yeah.
Had this lady come through the exit, which clearly labeled exit, just like there was a clear labeled entrance. We went through the entrance and were coming out of the exit. She was coming through the exit and going out of the entrance.
Yeah.
And she got mad at us because we wanted to take pictures, and she was kind of in the way and going through the wrong way. And then we were in her pictures and she was mad at us.
Oh, well, doesn't matter. I mean...
Oh, well. Not our fault. Not the haunt's fault. It's your fault.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say it. But beside the point, irrelevant.
Moving on.
So, yeah, a lot of great stuff to see. Their gift shop has a lot of cool things. T-shirts, bobbleheads. Masks, even. Just a lot to see, a wide variety. My only grievance and this actually harkens back to the other 2 haunts as well. And granted, the other 2 might have had this if we had a chance to look in their gift shop area. I wish, because Creepyworld, The Darkness, and Lemp Brewery are all run by the same company and the same owner, I wish that all 3 sold merch for the other ones too. Because if you think about it, they're all working together. Plus, they have an awesome, what do you call it? They have the great bundle you can purchase for these 3 haunts that we purchased.
You can get tickets for all 3 on the same website.
Yeah.
But it's like they're like, oh, well, we own all 3 of these, but, see them one at a time.
And you can't get any of their stuff online either, which I would think
really sucks.
And I would think with a haunt this big, you would have some online options. So if y'all are listening, owners, if you can set that up, I mean, we would buy some stuff online, like, hands down. So if that's something that is in the cards and can be made happen, we would love to see that.
And one of the grievances I had with the gift shop was the fact, I love the fact that they do sell the masks, but I happen to have saw a lot of those masks at Spirit Halloween in past years. Like, they had my leather face mask that I had bought And then they had the other leather face mask that I had wanted to get, but I had already spent $60 on one mask, so I didn't want to buy them both. And they had a lot of stuff that you could get at Spirit Halloween.
Yeah. But I mean, apart from that, what are they? They're not going to make homemade masks.
I mean, I get that, but you can always get them from a source, like from our sponsor.
Well, maybe
you know, like area stores like that, like
maybe
haunt shops like that.
Maybe they have a deal with Spirit Halloween. I mean, you don't know.
I mean, I don't know. That is true. But, I mean, why would I spend more at your merch booth to get the same thing that I could get for a little bit cheaper at Spirit of Halloween, especially like after?
But do we know that we'd be spending more? Because I didn't look at the price on them, so I don't know.
Well, considering that I know that mask, brand new, retailed for $60.
Yeah.
And they were selling it for $70.
Were they selling it for $70?
Yeah.
I didn't see that. In any case, I mean, whatever. I'm sure there's a reason.
And maybe I read that wrong, but I saw 70.
Well,
and maybe that was for something else, and it was just kind of close by. I don't know. We're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they got a deal with Spirit. Maybe they went and got all this stuff cheaper. You know, the after Halloween sales that are very famous for those of us who absolutely love Spirit Halloween. You know, we don't know. But I'm just saying, I have seen those in Spirit Halloween, and I was like, I bought one of them, and it was expensive, and demand and supply, they kind of can sell them for a little bit more. But at the same time, I didn't even see a Spirit of Halloween up where we were at anyway. So it could be one of those things where they ordered them off of spiritofhalloween.com and, you know, are supplying them to their public.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we never know. It was strange.
Yeah, definitely strange, but in any case. So that's Creepyworld for you. Lots of good things, some not so great things. Oh, I do know one of the things I did want to mention before we rate it. So like I said, there is a really great deal that you can get if you go and buy tickets for them. They have a lot of really great options, and one of the options they have is called the Ultimate Scarefest Scream Pass. And what that is it lumps together the Darkness, Lemp Haunted House, Creepyworld, plus the Haunted Hayride and the Jack-O-Lantern Festival. Bundles it all together, and then you also get Fast Pass for everything. So you're getting sent straight to the front of the line. And it's only $100. So you're saving $53 by doing that. But all of that to say, so we've got these speed passes to get us to the front, right? Well, one of the things that they have is a VIP immediate access pass. I hate to say it, but it's kind of a waste of money if you did buy the VIP.
It's very redundant.
Yeah, because we saw like where the VIP takes you, and the VIP might be what the Fast Pass technically is. Yeah, that's what it looks like. VIP is essentially Fast Pass, because it doesn't look like you can add the Speed Pass at $15. But if you get the VIP immediate access, your only other benefit is you get 10% off anything in the stores. But apart from that, it's not really nothing to write home about. But in any case, you pay that $100, you can get all 3 attractions, and you're put right there at the front of the line, same as what a VIP person would get. This is great at the Darkness and Lemp, because it's only the one haunt, basically. But then at Creepyworld, because you're put into several different attractions, you get sent to the front, like you get your speed pass, thing, and you basically get right up to the front. But then from then on out, every building you go into, you're waiting in line again. And I feel like if you're going to have a speed pass, that should apply for each haunt portion. So if I have the speed pass, I should be able to just go into the speed pass line. Granted, I know that would probably entail having to show somebody a ticket for the speed pass. I mean, give them a lanyard or something and be like, "Hey,
give them
I've
a
got
little keepsake."
Yeah, give them that to say, "Hey, I have the speed pass."
And it's not like out of the realm unheard of, because we've been to haunts that have done that.
Yes.
Like given us a lanyard so that we can walk up and they're just like, "Oh, I see your lanyard. You're obviously speed pass. Let's go ahead and get you through."
Right. And so, I mean, that's all it would take to do that. And then you wouldn't be waiting in line at each individual moment after that. So that is one thing I would personally change, but that's just me. I don't know if it's even a possibility. Owners of Creepyworld, if you're listening, let us know. Is that a thing you can do?
Oh, and one little small thing, and this is just more of a having fun kind of thing. So for those of us with Snapchat, they have a Snapchat filter. They may actually have 3. I could be wrong. I know that we saw one of them coming out of Lemp Brewery, and we actually tested it. And it did take a minute, but it worked. So you'll get to see those pictures on our socials. But that's just a fun little extra thing that they have, and it is actually for, their company's, well, their haunt company. So, pretty cool.
Yeah, it definitely is a really cool thing. So yeah. All right, let us rate Creepyworld.
I'll let you go first.
So, all things being considered, obviously there's a lot to consider. I'm going to give Creepyworld I'm going to give them a 4.5. The only reason I'm going to give them a 4.5 instead of just a straight 5 is like my grievance with like how the line sort of thing works. Like I feel like that could be better. Not to mention like we said, there were some definite meh spots in there that just were not as great as they could have been. And because of that, it's like, well, all right, well, good enough, I guess. So that was a little disappointing. But apart from that, I mean, it's a very good haunt. It's got some really great moments all throughout, and is really a place that you definitely have to check out. So I'm gonna give it a 4.5. Ansley?
I'm gonna give them a 4.
Ooh.
Because, the screens, I can't get past that. Some of them did work. Like, obviously, I said the one that was on the hayride that was in the top window of the Norman Bates house. It worked pretty well where it was at. But y'all aren't sponsored by Roku, I don't think. So, that definitely killed it. The fact that I saw 2 of the same scene, just one zoomed in a little bit, and the same facade in 2 different levels of the house. Like, you're telling me that 2 identical twins are being murdered by identical twins in an identical room? Is that what you're trying to tell me? And also, I just thought about this. If that was supposed to be a hospital, why was there a scene for a kitchen table?
I don't know.
But, that being what it was, leaving that there, that wouldn't have, sunk y'all's score. The stuff in face, as Jeremy likes to call it, the heads on strings and freezer curtains in that one room. That was the only room, the only haunt that I really, really had an issue with, because it was like, it would have been one thing if it was just a doorway to a doorway, but there was an entire hallway where it was just these curtains and heads, and they were just alternating. So you were getting the shit beat out of you by these heads immediately after having these fucking curtains hit you in the face. And maybe Jeremy just gave me a bad experience on that because he's flinging them into my face. But, number one, it's gross. Like, I don't want to feel other people spit on my face because they got hit in the face while they were talking or something. I don't like the feeling of knowing that may have happened, and I'm like full face walking into it because they're right there, and it's not like I've got a full curtain that I can push out the way and just be done with it. I literally have to hold my hand in front of my face, which, I mean, that blocks a lot of my view if I'm protecting my face the entire time I'm walking through this. And then some of the props were way too heavy for you to have them hanging on a string. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that one pig carcass bruised me because it hit me so hard. Because it was like hard plastic and heavy. So, and then of course, like Jeremy was saying, the dull moments. And another thing that we kind of did not mention, but I'm going to mention right now, a lot of times with animatronics, especially if you get them from like Transworld or like a big haunt company, because obviously we know that you're not going to be able to make all your own prop. There was different variations of the same prop. So it was the skeleton of I'm going to call it the Pennywise, the famous Pennywise animatronic that's got Georgie, and he's hanging there by his one remaining arm, and Pennywise is just standing there menacingly. Well, you get that shell, but you put a different skin on it. And there was several different characters in the exact same pose, different props, of course. Like, there was one that had a machete and a sleeping bag. And I'm not going to tell you the character, but you probably could guess from that. And then there was, like, one that had a meat cleaver and a human. But they were, like, the exact same prop with different skin. And they were used in almost every single room. There was a teacher with a student and a paddle. Like, that's a really cool animatronic. I get it. But when you do it so often in the exact same haunt, it loses its luster. And then by the end of it, you're like, oh, there's that prop again. Oh, look, it's a little bit different. So, for all those reasons, I had to take a solid entire point off your guys' score from my side.
Alright, so Ansley gave him a 4, I gave him a 4.5. That gives him a grand total of, drumroll please, 4 screams. Creepyworld is a 4 screams rated haunted attraction by the Terror Talk Scream Scale. Don't believe us? Go check them out for yourself. You still have some time this haunt season before they close the doors for the final night. You have Halloween night from 7 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., which is the night that we are recording this. Actually, the morning, really early morning of Halloween.
Yeah,
and
we stayed up late, guys.
Yeah, and then you have the November 1st and 2nd, that Friday and Saturday after Halloween, from 7 to 10 p.m., and those are your final nights to attend Creepyworld. So go out there, check them out this haunt season. We think you'll be very, very glad that you did. It is definitely worth checking out. And I did want to mention this. I did not realize this was the thing. I actually ended up clicking on the jobs page on here. And for the darkness, they're going to do a halfway to Halloween event as well on May 3rd from 6:30 to 9:30. So you have 3 awesome haunted houses right here in St. Louis. You have Lemp Brewery Haunted House. You have The Darkness. And then you have Creepyworld. All 3 right there within a very close radius of each other. Lots of fun. You can literally make an entire scare night out of it on a good haunt night. Especially if you take advantage of that awesome deal where you get, the 3 tickets for, so much money. That definitely will benefit you. So, get out there, check it out. Let us know if you agree with us, disagree with us. Like we said, we want to hear from you. But that is going to do it for us on this mega episode of the Terror Talks. We hope that you enjoyed yourself. We hope you had a good time. We know that we did. And we hope that you will check out these haunts and all the haunts that we've recommended this season so far. We've still got a few more coming at you. The season is not yet over, and the show is far from over. Even when spooky season is over, we're still going to find ways to play. But that is going to do it for us on this episode of the Terror Talks, episode 20 of season 4. Can't believe we've had this many episodes. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, until next time, I've been Jeremy.
And I'm Ansley.
And until next time, be safe out there.
Be excellent to each other.
Don't text and drive.
And we'll see you
in the fog.
Hey, you guys survived to the end of the show. Congratulations, you're all final girl material. But don't worry, you'll have plenty more opportunities to fall victim to our horrifying creations throughout the season. Afraid to miss out on more content?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Don't worry, we've got you covered. All you have to do is like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. You can also subscribe to our Libsyn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, and anywhere else podcasts can be found.
Groovy.
Want to keep up with us regularly? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok for all of our social media fun.
Don't fall asleep.
Go check out our website for our written reviews at theterrortalks.wixsite.com.
What are you going to do with those pies, boys?
Want to help us keep the lights from flickering? You can give us a one-time donation of $3 to support the show by visiting glow.fm/theterrortalks. Simply go to that link, and your one-time donation will go back into keeping the show running from Michael, Freddie, and Jason for another day.
Dog will hunt, dog will hunt.
You can also subscribe to our Patreon by going to www.patreon.com/theterrortalks. Once there, you can subscribe to one of our 2 tiers, our lowest tier of $1 a month, and our highest tier of $5 a month. That's less than 1 cup of coffee, and it all goes right back into our show. Anything else we're forgetting?
I tell you, Michael Myers is here in this
Oh yeah,
town.
please give us a 5-star written review on Apple Podcast and let us know that you saw the show. And if there's something you liked or even didn't like, you can also contact us directly at theterrortalks@gmail.com. Well, that does it for this spooky showing. Be safe out there and beware of ghouls, goblins, and monsters. But until next time, happy haunting.